Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Olly. This is where I share my passion for sewing through tutorials and how-to hints and sewing tips. I look at and sew from vintage patterns and have an ever-increasing collection of vintage sewing machines. Still to come on this channel, I've got a sew-along tutorial for a paperboy hat. It's been on the schedule for a few weeks now, partly due to a bat sew-along that I completed last week. I'll link that below just in case you missed it. And partly because I can't actually remember where I put the fabric that I was going to make the hat from. So that will be coming up at some point in the future, I'm not sure when. I've got 2 new video series coming up in the new year though, so more on that in later videos. It's a really great time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and remember to hit that little bell so YouTube will let you know when I upload another video. I'm currently working through a series of videos showing how sewing machines, particularly Singers, have changed over the years, starting with Grandma here behind me. She's a Singer 27 Treadle from 1912, all the way up to this modern Singer. This is a Singer Simple from 2014, I think. Although most of the machines in the series will be Singer, there is going to be a Janome in the mix and possibly a brother too. Before we get into today's video, let's have a quick recap. So far in this series, we've looked at Grandma, the machine behind me. She's a Treadle from 1912, and we've also had a look at this Singer. This is a Singer 28 from 1928. Now both of the videos for those 2 machines will be in the description box below. We're going to be skipping ahead a couple of decades for this video to a Singer from the 1950s. Kind of. Before we start, I'd like to draw your attention to the Simply Stitchy branded sweatshirt that I'm wearing. If you feel like you're Simply Stitchy too and you'd like one of your own, check out the link to the Simply Stitchy merch in the description box below. When I first saw this machine in the back of a friend's car, I thought, hey, cool, it's from the 1950s. I was basing my thought process on the design of the case. It's not the usual bentwood or coffin style case from Grandma's day or even from 1928. The cases back then were a little bit more like this one. This is a colourful, flowery little number, or at least it would have been back in the 1950s. It hasn't stood the test of time at all well, or the test of carrying the machine's weight, if I'm honest. If you take a look at the handle, it's got insulation tape wrapped around it because it's actually broke. And that's probably down to the fact that this machine is as heavy as its predecessors. If Kate Winslet had used this one in the dressmaker, she wouldn't have been carrying it around for long either, even though it looks more portable than its ancestors. This would have been 30 pounds of cast iron right on her tootsies. Ouch. I must admit, the case itself has seen better days, but at the time when I first saw it I thought it was looking pretty good for something that was probably in the region of about 60 years old. You could have knocked me down with a feather when I opened the case and saw the machine inside. Let's take a look. Now the first thing to notice with this machine that makes it different to the ones that came before it is the actual design of the case. No longer do we have a little hole for a key or a screwdriver, depending what you've got to hand. We've got buckles or clasps which literally just clip up like that, and then you just lift the lid off and there's the machine inside, and there's the broken handle. I don't know why it says vintage sewing machine on the case. It was pretty obvious really, wasn't it? But hey. The second thing that you can notice about this machine, it's got paperclip decals, and if I just spin it around on the towel for a moment, there you go, it's got a flat shiny faceplate rather than the usual pattern ones that you can see on the older machines. With that in mind, and the fact that it's got a nice almost pine-like base to it, I was still thinking 50s for this one. I'm also still thinking pretty heavy. Okay. She's a little bit dusty, if I'm honest. She's got the obligatory damage from pins. This would have had at one point a pin cushion wrapped around the arm, and over time the pins have scratched into the lacquer work. It's got quite a nice nifty covered base. It's wood underneath here, but it's got like a wallpaper covering almost to it. Nothing about this machine suggested to me while it was still sitting in the boot of a friend's car that it was anything other than a 1950s machine, until I got it home and took a closer look. It has a throat plate that stretches from front to back. It has a trapezoid shaped maintenance cover on the front here. It's got a low level bobbin winder. It's also got quite a long base. From the distance from the pillar to the needle is quite expansive. If we open this up, we'll see that it's got a vibrating shuttle bobbin encased in a bullet shaped case. All the evidence points to this machine being a 27. With paperclip decals? Really? Then I saw something that made my jaw drop and my heart miss a beat. The stitch adjuster. It's not chrome coloured. It looked like plastic. So now I'm not thinking 50s, I was actually thinking reproduction. There was a revival back in the 70s and 80s when Singer, using factories based in Asia, began releasing reproduction or retro Singers because popularity for the older machines was coming back in. But I thought they reproduced the 15s, not the 27s. On closer inspection, I breathed a sigh of relief. The adjuster is metal. It's just been painted. So this is the real deal. It's a bona fide Singer 27. So why has it got the wrong decals? Did Singer even make 27s in the 1950s? I decided I needed to do a little bit of digging, and my first stop was the ISMAX website to check the serial number. ISMAX is the International Sewing Machine and Collectors Society, I think. I'll put a link to it in the description box below. I've also got a video on how to use the site to find out how old machines like this one are, and I'll link that in the description too. The serial number on most cast iron machines, not all of them but most of them, is right here, right in front of the pillar on the base. Imagine my relief when the serial number confirmed a Singer 27K produced in Kilbarry as part of a run of 38,000 in between Jan and June of, I feel a drum roll is needed here, 1900. Okay, wasn't expecting that. Not only does it mean that this isn't from the 1950s, it also means she's older than Grandma. Guess that makes you Great Aunt Bessie, eh? This is a 27 from 1900. So why does it look so wrong? And where is the Singer badge? Did Singer even have paperclip decals in 1900? I'm not so sure they did. I did a quick Google search on paperclip decals and I turned up a really interesting website called singerssewinginfo.co.uk. I'll put a link in the description box. The website explained that these particular decals were used on Singer 201s, but more importantly, machines that had been re-Japanned. Now, Japanning is the name that's given to the finish on these older machines, not because of the country Japan, but because it's a European take on an Asian technique involving lacquer work. And we all know these babies are covered in lacquer work. The term dates back to the 17th century and was originally used on furniture before it was transposed, if you like, to being used on small metal items. To re-Japan something basically means it's been refinished or refurbished. Great Aunt Bessie here has been to a health spa for sewing machines. My next question was why? Well, the answer to that one lies in Singer's need to become a commercial company again. Sewing machines were in short supply following the Second World War, as Singer had been busy making munitions. Their factories were all geared up to make weapons, and converting them back to civvy streets would take time, meaning new machines just weren't being produced. So, ever the enterprisers, Singer came up with a plan to get them back into the sewing machine business, and fast. They started refurbishing machines like this one to make them look all new and shiny, a pick-me-up for both machine and owner, and maybe even a bit of a refresher course in sewing machine engineering for their employees. I found a lovely blog post by Tumor on refurbished Singers, and I'll put the link in the description box below. Part of that link even, is a video by Alex Askarov. He's a renowned UK expert on Singer machines, and guess what? He's demonstrating a Singer from 1904 that was professionally re-japanned by Singer in Kilberry, Scotland. And it's got paperclip decals, which gives us another puzzle. Why were both the machine in Alex's video and this one still hand cranks? Why not convert them to electric? Well, the answer to that one probably lies in where both owners of the machines lived, the UK. When Singer introduced the electric motor conversion back in the 1920s, it took off like an electric powered rocket in the US, not so much in the UK. The difference could be due to a number of factors. I haven't been able to find a definitive reason. Most articles online at the minute are about converting electric machines back to treadles or hand cranks. People-powered machines are popular with preppers apparently. Whoa, there was way too many P's in that sentence. But maybe that's the reason. Maybe Brits of the 1950s were all preppers. Make do and mend and all that. I don't really know why, but I can give it my best guess based on the UK history of the time. The first possible reason, some parts of the UK didn't have electricity, so converting the machines would have been a little bit pointless. The second reason could have been the cost. These machines would have been an expensive purchase when they were bought brand new. Even if the owners took out one of Singer's revolutionary payment plans, many Brits just didn't have that much disposable income either before the war or after it. Maybe the added benefit or ease of an electric motor just wasn't worth the extra outlay to cash-strapped Brits. I'm pretty sure refurbishing a machine like this one would have cost a bob or two. Maybe that still kept an electric motor out of the price range of many. It's a bit like buying a new car. If you go for the added extras, it's going to cost you. Or, being a Brit myself, maybe it's simply down to an old British adage. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hand cranks work perfectly well, so why bother wasting money on an upgrade? Besides, think of the extra expense on electric bills. It could also just so easily have been when this little old lady was refurbished, the war had not long ended, rationing was still in force, and the severity of the winter of 1947 would have been fresh in everyone's memory. Coal in that bitter winter was hard to come by for people and power stations alike, leading to an electricity shortage. So much so that the government at the time, bless their hearts, forbade homes to use any electricity for at least 5 hours. Every day. Imagine that. Sub-zero temperatures, no coal, not allowed to use electric, gas pressure down, all leading to no heat. They must have been freezing. I wonder if the Houses of Parliament had the same restrictions. I'll put a link to the info I found out about the nightmare of a winter in the description box. All things considered though, it's no wonder this baby was left as a hand crank. Doesn't explain the lack of a badge though. It could be that this little lady was refurbished by a third-party contractor on behalf of Singer, so maybe they just weren't allowed to put the badge back on. I don't know. If any of you know why the badge wasn't replaced, or even why the UK loved its hand cranks, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Links to all the information and research are going to be in the description box below. If all things sewing is one of your passions, subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell to get notified when I upload a new video. Meanwhile, wherever you're sewing, whatever you're sewing with, embrace your creativity and have fun. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.